Republicans savaged the head of the Internal Revenue Service about his response, or lack of it, to the targeting of conservative groups. This is Special Report. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. By virtue of his job as America's taxman, John Koskinen is already one of the country's most disliked bureaucrats. But today, the IRS commissioner was definitely feeling no love on Capitol Hill. Senate Republicans went after him for what they see as institutional indifference to the scandal over the targeting of conservative groups by his agency. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel has tonight's top story.
With conservatives frustrated about a lack of accountability following the IRS targeting of Tea Party and other groups, Texas Senator and presidential candidate Ted Cruz convened a subcommittee hearing grilling Commissioner John Koskinen.
In the 806 days that have followed, has anyone been indicted?
No.
Has anyone been fired?
There have been, at this point, the 5 major people, starting with the commissioner on down through the director of exempt organizations, are all new. Everyone else is gone.
The panel's top Democrat blamed the targeting on a broken campaign finance system.
Rather than trying to score political points by distorting a set of unfortunate but basically honest mistakes by civil servants, we should instead ask ourselves the question, how is it that we have all allowed such an irrational system to continue to exist?
Koskinen took over the IRS 7 months after the scandal broke. This was his first visit to Capitol Hill since House Oversight Republicans sent this 30-page letter to President Obama on Monday demanding that he be removed from his job as commissioner. Lawmakers say Koskinen had a duty to preserve and then produce approximately 24,000 emails from former official Lois Lerner, but note the IRS under his leadership has failed to do so. Today, Cruz made this reference to Watergate.
We've destroyed the hard drives. Richard Nixon's ghost must have been smiling at that protestation.
Cruz drew this conclusion after Lerner has refused to answer questions on Capitol Hill.
A senior official of the IRS twice saying, if I answer your questions, I could end up in the slammer.
At the White House, spokesman Eric Schultz expressed continued support for Koskinen.
His decades of experience turning around both public and private institutions continue to make him the right person to lead this agency.
Senators also heard from representatives of conservative groups who had their lives turned upside down by extra scrutiny from the IRS.
Patience is also wearing thin with U.S. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan. He's threatening to hold Koskinen and Justice Department attorneys in contempt of court for failing to produce status reports and Lois Lerner emails. Brett?
You know, Mike, a North Carolina congressman seemed to shock everybody by trying to have John Boehner removed as Speaker of the House. What's the latest with that?
Really stunning. First time in almost a century that a lawmaker has tried to have a House Speaker vacate his post. It was Republican Mark Meadows from North Carolina who shocked House leadership and even many of his conservative colleagues. Meadows later backpedaled, saying he wasn't trying to remove Boehner from power, but wanted to start a dialogue about the way the House is being operated. Some members criticized Meadows, suggesting this was a lame publicity stunt or an attempt to boost fundraising from outside conservative groups. This afternoon, Boehner said this effort doesn't deserve a vote and offered this reaction.
You got a member here and a member there who are off the reservation. No big deal.
Timing comes as House lawmakers are leaving for 5 weeks and wanted to be talking to their constituents about their opposition to the Iran nuclear deal and, of course, those Planned Parenthood videos. And now they expect that they will be getting questions about drama with the Speaker. Brett?
Mike Emanuel live on the Hill tonight. Mike, thanks. 11-term Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Chaka Fattah is vowing to remain in office tonight and fight racketeering charges. A federal indictment includes 29 counts of bribery, fraud, money laundering, and other crimes. Fattah is accused of paying off campaign loans and his son's student loan debt with charitable donations and federal grants. Hillary Clinton is expressing concerns about undercover videos alleging gruesome goings-on at Planned Parenthood abortion clinics. Chief Legal Correspondent Shannon Bream is here with that tonight. Shannon, is this a shift from what we've heard from Secretary Clinton?
It does seem like a little bit of evolution of sorts. This is what she told the New Hampshire union leader this week. She said, quote, "I have seen pictures from them and obviously find them disturbing," talking about the videos. You may remember when they first broke, we reached out and asked the Clinton campaign for a response. She was silent for days and then said this: "It's important to remember that Planned Parenthood provides all kinds of health services like cancer screenings and birth control." And she went on to add this.
It is unfortunate that Planned Parenthood has been the object of such a concerted attack for so many years.
And while her comments are tougher on the organization this week, it does not appear she's planning to abandon them. She added also that if there's going to be any kind of congressional investigation, Brett, she says it should look at everything, not just at Planned Parenthood.
So where are the Republicans on defunding Planned Parenthood? Well,
they are aware and rolling out a measure that the Democrats are talking about this as an attack on women's health care or another war on women. So this is how they're rolling it out today. They're saying they're making it clear they aren't taking away any dollars. No funding levels are going to change for women's health, but they want to redirect the dollars that have been going to Planned Parenthood to other options like community centers and hospitals.
I want to make clear that there will be no reduction in overall federal funding available to support women's health.
But here's the thing, Republicans will have to get 60 votes to actually move this bill forward procedurally, and it's not even clear they're going to keep everyone on their side of the aisle. Senator Susan Collins says in her state, in Maine, Planned Parenthood is the primary provider of women's health services, so she's unlikely, she says, to vote for immediate defunding prior to some type of full investigation. Also, Senator John Cornyn said today he hopes that the first procedural vote on this bill will come Monday night. But Brett, again, without 60 votes, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, we'll follow it. Shannon, thank you. The House has approved, just before leaving for August recess, a bill to extend highway construction spending for 3 months. The vote was 385 to 34. This averts a shutdown of highway programs at the end of the month, provided the Senate approves the bill in the next 2 days. A Buffalo area man is facing terrorism charges tonight. Federal agents raided Arafat Naji's home this morning. He's accused of traveling to Turkey with the intention of joining ISIS. Federal authorities say they were tipped off by a resident who heard him talking about his jihadi beliefs. U.S. authorities have confirmed the reclusive leader of the Taliban is dead and has been for 2 years. This comes as the president's top advisors continue to spar with Congress and America's allies over the Iranian nuclear deal. Correspondent Doug McKelway reports tonight from the White House.
The Afghan government's timing of its announcement that Taliban leader Mullah Omar died 2 years ago was curious. It came just 2 days before its new round of peace talks with the Taliban. The one-eyed Omar led the 10-year-long insurgency against U.S. troops. The knowledge of his death may throw a wrench into the talks. The Taliban had released statements in Omar's name as recently as this month. The White House today urged the talks to continue, not knowing who the real Taliban leader is.
The United States does continue to support an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned reconciliation process as the surest way to end violence in the region.
It marks a new foreign policy headache for the Obama administration, which again came under fire in a Senate hearing. Republicans are livid over what they call a side deal in the Iran nuclear agreement. It allows Iran to choose its own soil samples for IAEA inspection. Senators today learned no one in the administration has yet read the side deal.
All I can say is that, well, first of all, I personally have not seen those documents.
Which is astounding, to be honest with you. That is absolutely astounding, that you have not seen the documents that about the requirement for verification.
The White House pushed back, noting the so-called side deal is a standard classified clause, often included in agreements between IAEA and individual states.
There is no side deal. There are no secret deals between the P5+1 and Iran.
Meanwhile, the administration has been mounting a full-court press to reassure Middle East allies the deal is a good one. Secretary of State John Kerry is headed there next week. Defense Secretary Ash Carter just returned. He tried to convince senators the nuclear genie will be kept in the bottle, even if it takes U.S. military force.
We can rapidly surge an overwhelming array of forces into the region, married with sophisticated munitions that put no target out of reach.
As we speak, the president is attempting to bolster support for the Iran nuclear deal by hosting House Democrats in the East Room. House Republicans will need 43 Democratic defections in order to override that promised presidential veto. Brett?
Doug McKelway live in the North Lawn. Doug, thanks. The first presidential debate night on Fox just 8 days away, and now one shift. We'll explain. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 19 in Cincinnati with a murder indictment against a University of Cincinnati police officer. The officer's body cam captured the fatal shooting during a traffic stop. The prosecutor says Officer Ray Tensing purposely killed Samuel DuBose. The prosecutor disputes Tensing's account that he was dragged by the car and forced to shoot. Fox 25 in Boston as New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady says he will fight his 4-game suspension. The penalty for his role in deflating footballs for the AFC Championship game was upheld by the NFL yesterday. And this is a live look at Los Angeles from our affiliate Fox 11. The big story there tonight, 2 children suffering critical injuries when a 5-story tall pine tree fell on a group of youths. It happened near a children's museum in Pasadena. 6 other children suffered minor injuries. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.